Hi, today we will be doing a project. Our project is based on cyber attacks and countermeasures on window-wide, company-wide window devices. And this project is by myself, Joshua, Jacqueline, and Justin. So to begin, I would like to start off with a little bit of a background. So, as technology use has expanded, so has the potential of cyber attacks. So, company window device machines are actually frequently targeted by hackers due to their broad use in homes, workplaces, and other public areas. Cyber attacks may result in data breaches, identity theft, financial losses, and system outages, among other things. A compromised Windows laptop actually exposing results in exposing confidential and corporate data to unauthorized parties may have serious repercussions. Therefore, it is essential to put in place the proper defenses to shield Windows devices from various cyber threats. Those listed here are some of them. As seen, um, these precautionary steps include things like using secure passwords, upgrading programs, installing antivirus and anti-malware software, and putting up firewalls. It's also crucial to be aware of typical attack vectors like phishing emails and social engineering strategies in order to prevent falling victim to these nefarious attacks. This project will look at several cyber attacks such as malware, ransomware, and phishing that can affect Windows-based devices and provide practical solutions to thwart them. By following these recommended practices, users may lessen the possibility of cyber attacks and ensure the security and safety of their their Windows devices. So we have done research on this topic. So some research that we have done is listed here. So let me just start by listing by talking about what the research actually means. So cyber attacks can have such a big impact on a company. This can include loss of information, business disruption, and revenue loss. The attack, if successful, can gain access to personal information, including personal IDs, addresses, medical records, and financial data. Companies should be aware of what person has access to what data. For example, a contractor or temporary employee should not have full access to any sensitive data. Also, having proper authentication is also important to keeping any information safe. It's usually forgotten how important a strong password can be. This also includes having employees being aware and properly trained to understand possible attacks. The concept of advanced security tested framework for wearable IoT devices written by S. Siboni is security and privacy, more specifically vulnerability management. Our problem is focused on the cyber attacks and countermeasures in Windows devices and companies. Most people forget that security on these devices is not limited to laptops and smartphones, but to all the new technologies as IoT. Companies now have more than just a simple PC, but with more technology comes more cyber attacks. Although this paper focused on wearable IoT devices like smartwatches, the concept is similar. In section 2.4, countermeasures and mitigations, the author discussed several countermeasures to reduce the security and privacy that comes with the devices. For example, the rule of Leti is privileges mentioned to limit the capability of employees to access sensitive company data and to restrict attackers who have compromised their devices. Another example is sensitive data stored on devices should be limited and encrypted in order to exposure of data. The risk of malware assaults is one of the top worries for businesses. So using a variety of channels, including email attachments, software downloads, and rogue websites, malware may penetrate a network. Researchers have suggested a number of ways to stop and lessen malware infections. For instance, researchers have created methods for spotting malware based on examining the system calls that the program makes. In one research, the authors created a machine learning based system that accurately detects malware using system call patterns. Using sandbox techniques is another strategy to separate suspicious software and stop it from harming the system. Software is operated in a controlled, isolated environment known as sandbox to prevent it from accessing the underlying system. Phishing attacks are another frequent danger to all Windows devices in a corporation. In phishing assaults, consumers are tricked into disclosing private data like login passwords or credit card details. Researchers have created a number of defense mechanisms against phishing assaults such as the use of visual cryptography. Visual cryptography actually includes dividing a picture into two pieces that can be merged to disclose the original image, even though that they cannot be decoded separately. In one research, the authors showed a split picture of a login with each half displayed on a different device in order to thwart phishing attacks. The user must physically align the devices in order to join the two parts of the picture and log in. Using machine learning algorithms to recognize and filter questionable emails is another strategy for avoiding phishing attempts. One study's authors created a method based on machine learning that assesses the email's content, sender, and other elements to identify whether it's a phishing effort. The technology was quite accurate in identifying phishing emails.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Perez. I am part of this group, and like Joshua said before, our project is on cyber attacks and countermeasures on company-wide Windows devices. Our approach was divided into 4 jobs. Number 1 is implement network segmentation. Number 2 is to implement access controls and least privilege. Number 3 is performing red and blue team exercises. And number 4 is install endpoint detection and response solutions on every device. So job number 1 is to implement network segmentation. And the result of this would be by establishing the network segmentation, the danger of a cyber attack is decreased and security is increased. By splitting a network into smaller isolated subnetworks and separating with firewalls, it can reduce the effect of a cyber attack and stop spreading it it can stop it from spreading to other systems and devices. So basically, the idea is that you separate the whole network into smaller networks, and they each have their own firewall. So in the case of attack, if someone were to get into one network, it would stop it, and we would be able to focus on the attacker that is in that network and not have to worry as much as protecting the other networks that are there. So if we have like very sensitive data, we're going to put into it's obviously going to be in its own network, and then we can have higher security and have a stronger firewall just in case. For result number 2 is to implement access controls and least privilege. I think we all have heard of implementing these type of controls in any type of setting in any type of device, whether it's a personal or if it is like a company-wide. Implementing access controls and least privilege has the effect of enhancing and lowering the risk of a cyber attack, because since we're limiting users' access to data and systems, and that the user should only be given minimal amount of access required to carry out their job duties. So if someone, let's say an intern is coming in, we're obviously just going to give them the most basic privilege we can because they're first starting and they do not need to have so much access to any information that is around. And obviously the people who are up high, like a CEO, CFO, whatever, they're going to obviously have the most amount of privilege and access to any network around. And obviously this includes the data, so they're going to have limited access to data, and obviously the more sensitive data is going to be very, very limited in order to prevent any attacks or to prevent from social engineering, so that no one can access these types of data. For number three, it's performing red and blue exercises, blue team exercises. So red team is the offensive security, and the blue team is the defensive security. So basically, the offensive team, which is the red team, finds ways how to get into the network or find a way how to retrieve data, obviously ethically. And the blue team is going to practice how they're going to protect the system. So performing these types of exercises can help identify any gaps or issues in the security products and policies. It's going to help detect the attacks and improve time taken to defend the network. Not only can it help people in the company realize the risk they can become to the company if it's not taken seriously. So the red team can perform any type of attack, whether it's through the network or actually using some type of social engineering. And then the blue team always finds a way how to defend it. Overall, performing red and blue team exercise can strengthen the company and prepare them for the worst.
Result number 4. Recommended that endpoint detection and response EDR solutions be installed on all Windows devices in the organization. Be able to identify risk on specific devices, take necessary precautions, and stop the spread to other systems. Conclusion. In order to safeguard a business's valuables and sensitive information, it is essential to safeguard Windows devices across the entire organization from cyber attacks. Business can identify risk and take appropriate action by installing EDR solutions on all endpoints, including those that conventional security solutions would ignore. These measures, when used in conjunction with the most recent software updates and security patches, have the potential to significantly lower the likelihood of a cyber attack. And these are the references that we use in this project.